Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
on live streaming. Yep, cheers, thank you. Okay, members, so we're going to move on to agenda item 1, which is apologies. I have not received any. Are there any from the floor? No. Okay. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. Unless anybody indicates, I will take these as we progress. Moving on to agenda item 3, the environmental health report. I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth for a decision item 3.1.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So this item is a decision item. It's an application for the approval of a chimney height in accordance with the clean air legislation, specifically the Clean Air Order 1981. So under the provisions of that legislation, it sets out and allows for chimneys to be erected within the borough. And the council cannot then approve the plans for a chimney unless it has been determined that the impact is acceptable in accordance with certain calculation methods. The approval for plans for a chimney are not connected with the planning process, but you'll obviously appreciate that we review and align any planning applications as part of the technical consultation. So the detail of this report is around an application that was received from Moy Park for a gas-fired combined heat and power plant at 39 Seago Industrial Estate to support the food production facility located there. The chimney associated with the plant is to be 20 metres above ground level. Combustion of gas tends to produce very low levels of pollutants compared to solid fuel or oil. The application has been supported with detailed air dispersal modelling, demonstrating a low impact with the borough associated with the proposed process. It is therefore recommended that the drawings that are included in the appendix as per the chimney approval is approved by members and the chimney height application is approved. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I have Councillor Ferguson online, wishes to speak.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this report. The pollutants from burning of gas is lower than that from coal or oil.
Councillor
but
Ferguson, sorry, we can't actually hear you at the minute. Could you just check you're not on mute, and I'll ask IT to double check. If you want to try.
Chair, can you hear me now? Chair, can you hear me now? Chair, can you hear me now? Chair, can you hear me now?
Just ask her to speak again there, please, Chair.
Can I just ask? Yeah. Disappeared. Councillor Ferguson, could you just try and speak again there for me?
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it is loud.
Chair, just confirm that you can hear me. Sorry, it was a very diluted sound that I heard.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll continue and stop me if it's not coming through to the chamber. Regarding item 3.1, the pollutants from the burning of gas is lower than that from coal or oil, which is stated in the report, but it is important to make clear that it's much higher than clean energy sources like wind or solar. In the report, it mentions various methods of calculation and prediction may be used to determine the impact of any pollution caused by the emissions, and that these are supported by an air dispersal model. Could I get an overview from officers on how the low emissions have been calculated and verified? And could I seek reassurance from officers that the proposals would align and not be inconsistent with any future plans of the Council in achieving net zero with regards to carbon production across the borough? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. I'm just going to hand over to Paul McCullough to hopefully give us some insights on that question.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. If not, do stop me. Yeah, certainly the submission did come in with the associated technical calculations alongside it. It uses proprietary software, which is simply called ADMS, Air Dispersion Modelling Software. And what we will do at that stage is we'll scrutinise all the inputs to the model to make sure that they are all accurate and correct and do reflect actually what is being proposed to be put on the ground. It will take into account the height of the stack, the diameter, the efflux velocity, so in other words, the speed that the gases are exiting the stack, the temperature of those gases as well, because that will have an influence upon how they disperse once they hit the atmosphere, and the volumetric flow rate, so literally, quite simply, the amount of gases that are passing out through the stack. It will then take into account any associated buildings that are nearby. Now, in fact, on this site, there is another 9-metre high production building in fairly close proximity to the stack, which did necessitate some changes within the various iterations of this proposal, which has led us to the point of a proposal for a 20-metre stack. That is the height that is required to ensure that the proper dispersion does take place. So once all those particular input parameters associated with the proposal are put into the software, it also will then take account of any sensitive habitats within the vicinity, any actual receptor properties that are identified as well, and there are a number of residential properties within the proximity of this, and then that will produce a prediction based upon the last 5 years' weather patterns of what the impact will be at all of those receptor locations. In terms of what the actual outputs of this assessment are, they are fractions of the limit value, so it is low in context of what we're looking at, and indeed, as Councillor Ferguson herself did say, in terms of gas being a lower polluting material than oil or other solid fuels, but of course, it still remains a fossil fuel. So as I say, those calculations have been done and have been checked by us. It probably, by way of context, it is worth pointing out that this comes from the 1981 Clean Air Order. It is a bit of an old hangover in terms of pollution legislation. Certainly we are expecting a new clean air strategy for Northern Ireland, which would update and replace this 1981 legislation, and it is badly needed. As I say, this is a very old hangover of legislation. As I say, 1981, it would have been drafted in the 70s. So we were talking about, coal burning at that point in time when this was designed for operation. Hence why when you do the calculations, it does show, as I say, that gas is a particularly clean material compared to those other types of fuels. Second part of the question was in relation to would it conflict with the overall council's aims? Well, as I say, those aims are emerging. We do have a roadmap in preparation. Of note, there is as well that the Department for Infrastructure have recently called for evidence in relation to the relationship between planning policy and climate change, which will provide the tools, for making decisions in relation to development of structures within the borough in the context of climate change. This particular chimney height approval process, as I say, is old and doesn't consider those factors. So as I say, that is still emerging, but hopefully that provides some explanation of the process.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. That was quite a comprehensive answer you gave us. Councillor Ferguson, you've indicated a thumbs up, which I assume means you're happy with that response. Okay, thank you. Members, it is an item for decision, so I'm going to need a proposer and a seconder. So proposed by the Vice Chair. I need a seconder. Alderman Moutry, thank you. Okay, members. Item 3.2 is a report on policies. Unless there's an indication from the floor to ask questions, I will mark it as noted. Okay. Okay, members, agenda item 4, environmental services report. These are both information items. However, I am going to bring Lisa in online to speak briefly on 4.1, the statistics report.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Yes, this first report is an information item just to update them members on the stats, our waste stats. You've got the report in front of you there. The first graph would show our current recycling rate. We're currently recycling 53.6%, and that was our figure for 2023 or 22-23. And we think we are on target to hopefully meet our challenging targets as we go along. The second graph there also breaks down our dry recycling rate and our composting rate quarter by quarter, just to show you the fluctuations in the waste and stuff that we are collecting and disposing of. So our challenging targets are coming up and coming our way. And so I've also included a bit here about the work of the waste education team. As we have our infrastructure and stuff in place, it's going to be really behaviour change. It's going to make a difference in our recycling rates going forward. I have got a bit of a, there was a bit of a update then on some of the work that the team has been doing, the likes of, going to Women's Institute groups, doing swishing toolkits, doing tools for solidarity. So there's the variety of work that the team has been doing to increase recycling rates across the borough. As I say, it is behaviour change that's going to really make our recycling improve over the next few years once we've got the infrastructure and things in place. So we need more people to recycle better and to recycle right. So it was just a quick update to inform members of our current rates and what the team has been doing. So thank you for that, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, and thought it was a very, very useful update for us. And the environmental awareness team is doing some great work. So thanks to yourself and the team. Councillor McClellan, you had a query or comment?
Yes, Chair. Thank you for letting me in, and a happy new year to yourself. Thank you, Lisa, for the report, and I think it is a very encouraging report. And I suppose just the question or comment that I would have would be around the outreach team. And yes, our numbers are good at this stage, but in terms of us getting to the overall target, whether that's in 2030 or 2050, there needs to be a step change. And I certainly understand that it needs more of the general public to buy in and so on. But my question was around what work have officers done, or what ideas have officers in terms of up ahead, the next big steps, in terms of encouraging the overall population buy-in, because I think it will need a little encouragement, and I think so officers and council have to be aware of that. And just any thoughts on what potential next steps are? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McClelland. I think that's a fair point and a good question. I am told it will form the basis of a future report. This was more around the information what the team are doing now, but I think your comments are noted. We'll be looking forward to a report in the near future, giving us those next steps. So thank you. Okay, members, item 4.2 again is an information item. So unless there are any indications for questions or comments, I will move on. Okay, members, we're going to go into committee now. So I need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor O'Dowd and Councillor O'Kane. Okay, members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means we will return off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the Thumbs up, good stuff. Okay, can I have a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendation made in committee? Formality, Councillor Radcliffe. And Councillor O'Dowd again. Thank you. Okay, members, there's no items of correspondence and no AOB was notified to me. Looking around, nobody's making the eyes at me, so we're happy enough. Okay, members, bit of a short one there tonight, but thank you for coming over, and again, happy new year and safe home. Thank you, staff.